There's a story of how you got a screw in your foot. How did that happen?
Screw in the foot. Years ago.
How old were you?
Must have been about 1963. Been married about a year.
I thought this happened when you were very young.
Yes, when I was very, very young, we were evacuated into a school in Wales.
How old were you? You were just a kid.
I was evacuated during the Blitz of London. Both Geoffrey and I were sent with gas mask and cardboard sign around our necks and sent to Paddington Station to this group of people that were Jewish that were going to be sent to Wales to a boarding school. And some crook by the name of, what was his name now? I can't remember. He was a Bukharan Jew, something like Aziz Zolov. He bought a castle in Wales.
Bought a castle?
Yep. You can buy a castle in France today for about £2 million.
Bloody hell.
And spend £2 million on doing it up. Adam bought a fabulous house for 1 million shekels.
I know.
Fabulous house. Could never buy it here for 10 million. With that land and a pool and a lake and... Never mind. Don't get me going on that.
We'll get to that some other time. But you were going to a castle by this
So we went to
crook
a
Bahari
castle
Jew.
in the middle of Wales in a place called Henchlan. And it was in Carnarvonshire. And the province was called Newcastle Emlyn. And we were there for about a year and a half, I think. We were ill-treated. We were malnourished.
Define ill-treated. Give me an example.
We were in a dormitory with freezing cold conditions, and we had a Irish nurse looking after the dormitory, and we were all lads of 7, 8, 9, 10 in the war. The grounds were looked after by prisoners of war, Italian prisoners of war, who were glad to be prisoners of war, by the way.
I see, okay.
Because they didn't have to fight the Germans. They could be looked after in England and cook a spaghetti and make tomatoes and tend the gardens. And they did no messing around with the Hitler. It's fucking stupid. And one boy wanted to play with the crystal set, so he put the crystal sound pieces in his ear, and he got it stuck in his ear. And he complained to the nurse and said, "It's gone down my ear." So what she did was she slapped both ears and burst his eardrums. I saw that. Another boy, Victor Epstein and Arnold Epstein, two twins, were eating spaghetti and cheese when one of them threw up his cheese over the plate, and he got hit round the head by the headmaster, or the classmaster, and he was made to eat it all back up again. From that day on, I could never smell spaghetti cheese. Once I was in shul on the Shabbat, as we had to go, and one boy said to the other, to the prefect, that I said, "fuck" in shul, and I didn't know the word fuck. So I was told to report to the headmaster. The headmaster was a sadist. He bent me over the bed. He looked around and he found a slipper. Slippers in those days were made of leather. Everything was made of leather. And he made me remove my trousers. He did not molest me, but he gave me 20 whacks with the slipper on my bare ass. And I remember at the very end, and I was screaming the place, Geoffrey was standing downstairs under the slotted window listening to my screams. And after it finished, I said to him, I'm so sorry. I remember apologizing to him. I don't know what I apologized, but I was totally chavot. I couldn't sit for about a week. I used to kneel. I had to eat kneeling down. And after several months of, we didn't mind it too much and we accepted it. Kids, they make do, you know, they adjust, just like a cat. Take its leg off and they'll hop around on three. So we hopped around on three. We managed, we just cried for our mum. We didn't cry for our dad because I don't remember him really, once or twice. But we were taught to write every Thursday afternoon. We had to sit in our classroom, miserable lessons, and we had to write off the blackboard what we saw written down in chalk. Dear Mum or Dad or Aunt or Uncle, write down what's applicable, and we wrote the letter. We're having a good time, everyone's very nice, and this and that and the other. We wrote it, signed David Lewis, Jeffrey signed his, Jeffrey Lewis, and my mother received the letter in the shop in Wentworth Street. And Mum read the letter and she thought, oh, they look very good. And the next time we had another letter, I thought, he's doing very good. Took about a week and a half for a letter to arrive from Henchelen to Aldgate, but the Royal Mail always worked well. And after a while, a colleague of my mum, his name was Pesach Weiniger.
I remember the name.
Now he looked like the caricature of what a Jew should look like in the middle of Germany in 1940. He was blessed with everything you dislike in a Jewish face. Everything I had.
Apart from the horns.
He didn't need horns. He looked like a devil. He behaved like. He was awful.
Oh, God.
And his nose used to drip.
Oh, no.
And he had a Hitler moustache.
Oh, no.
And he wore a Homburg hat.
Oh, God.
And he came to my mother, he couldn't speak English. He came to my mother and said in Yiddish, Ich hab gebaut die Brief from the Zine. Not from the Zine, from the Tochter. I've received a letter from my daughter, who is in Wales, like your sons. And can you read it to me? It's in English. You can't read English. So my mother took the letter and she read it. And she says, I've got the same letter from my sons. How can it be? This is my letter. It's got my daughter. Yeah, but this is my letter, David Lewis, and this is Hannah Weiniger. Dezelfde brief. The same letter. How can it be? Well, my mother was bright. She had a good education. Didn't make any use of it, really. Just one of the many dissatisfied Jewish ladies who did what she should, not what she wanted. So she said, I don't like this. She had a manageress who robbed her blind, Debbie Chernoff. I know all the names. Cog. I don't have the delete button that Mum's got. Anyway, Mum said, I can't live like this. I have to know what's going on. So she went to St Pancras Station. She took a train to Cardiff, and she got out of Cardiff and she took a train to Newcastle Emlyn. From there, she said, how do I get to Henchelen? Henchelen is in a valley. And when you want to Old Bromwich Castle, oh, yes, you have to walk. I can take you by car, a taxi cab, up to the village, up to Newcastle, up to Henchelen. And from Henchelen, you have to go to Bromwich. Bromwich's a long walk. You have to walk down one hill and up one valley and one hill. So Mum was taken to the village and she walked down the hill and she walked up the hill and she broke her heel. And she limped up until the barbed wire fence. And she was standing, I remember this like it was yesterday. She was shouting through the wire, and somebody came over and said to Jeffrey and I, "Is your mum out there?" Mum out there. And it was Mum standing there. And we ran like lunatics. She says, "I'm not coming." She says, "I'm not leaving here without you." We were disgusting. We were covered in scratches and spots, and she didn't recognize us. She packed up some stuff and she took us by the car. Well, no, we had a taxi. She made us. We had to walk with her to a village. We took a taxi. It was a Wolseley. I remember a Wolseley taxi with walnut fascia, and we drove to Cardiff by taxi, and then we got a train. We travelled all night to Brighton. And when we got to Brighton, there was an air raid. We got a taxi from Brighton Station to Wilbury Crescent, and when we saw Grandpa's house, both Jeffrey and I screamed. I remember running down the back side entrance of the house, screaming our heads off. Screaming, I remember making myself hoarse, screaming, just wild with joy. I've never known such happiness. And we were ill for about 2 weeks. My mother sued the school. I never heard anymore, and I don't remember anymore. But from that day on, one day during that period, when I got up late because I didn't sleep well and I was afraid of the nurse, so I put the first pair of shoes I could find, and I didn't want to say anything because if I complained or said something's wrong, I would be punished physically. And I've been punished once on my arse, and I never forgot that. So I wore 2 wrong shoes and deformed my left foot. 20 years later, it came to bite me in the arse. So I had to have a joint taken out the toe and a metal screw put in place.
I see.
And years and years and years later, after I'd been married, I had 2 hips replaced. And I distinctly remember, fast forward many years, we were in Las Vegas, and we had to travel from Las Vegas to New York on holiday with Tippy and Atam, but we were on our own because Tippy and Atam went on a different flight. We took, I can't remember the name of the flight. What's that main big?
Boeing 747?
No, that's airline, American.
Hercules?
Air
France?
No, it was American Airlines. Flight to Las Vegas, New York was 5 hours.
Okay.
And the security was insane. And it was mobbed. And the security was so slow. And all the security guards were big ex-Marine Negro guys. And they were like, every one of them was like Arnold Schwarzenegger. They were tough. You didn't fuck with them. They go, "You need to do this. You need to go here. You need to come in. Go into this machine. You need to go to this machine. Beep, 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 beep. Can you please sit down? Beep, 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 beep. Can you take off your shoe? Take off your shoe. Beep, 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 beep." I said, "I've got can you please not talk? You need to be silent, sir." Beep, 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 beep. He said, "Can you please undress? Can I say something to you a minute? You need to be silent. I have got some metal in me." He looked. He said, "Yeah, on your foot, but up here." I said, "I've got metal here too." So he looked at me as if exasperated. I said, "I suppose that's what happens when you're in the Israeli army. He stood to attention. He said, "You were in the Israeli army. You may get dressed, please." At the height of respect. I
Aw.
think it's the only time in my life somebody respected me. This great 6 foot, great African American guy. I wanted to hug him, but he would have probably killed me. Anyway.